Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon where you are today. Thank you very much for joining us at HNTV, and I'm extremely excited to have Jeff Wagoner and Laura Calin in this episode today. Jeff is the CEO of Outrigger, and Lauren is the VP of Strategy for Oracle Hospitality. It should be a lively discussion, and I'm very, very excited about this. Laura, if you wouldn't mind starting off telling us all about yourself, and then we'll push it over to Jeff, and then we'll get into the meat of the conversation.
Sounds great. Alan, Jeff, it's great to be with you today and with everybody else, and thanks for having me. I'm Laura Calin with Oracle Hospitality. Guests have indeed shifted their expectations during the pandemic, related to the topic today, and in a way, they reprioritize their values, and technology plays a critical role in meeting this new demand. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion. My role is leading strategy and product management for Oracle Hospitality. I've been in this position for now about 4 years, but I've been with the company for more than 25. And one interesting fact I like to say about myself, and people may not know, is that I started my career as the first opera software engineer. And with that, I was fortunate to be part of the team that was installing the product for our early adopter hotels. And that's really when I fell in love with the hospitality industry. And from there, I have worked in everything from product management to sales and services. And this is what prepared me for my role today, where I lead a team responsible for the product serving more than 40,000 hotels, casinos, and cruises worldwide. One of the brands that we serve is Outrigger Hotels, and I had the pleasure to vacation with my family and stay at one of the hotels in Thailand, and it was really unforgettable. And I really would return there in a heartbeat. That would be a very easy decision.
Thanks so much, Laura. Jeff, over to you. Welcome.
Great. Thanks, Alan. And Laura, it's great to be with you as well. And Laura, thanks for staying at Outrigger. I appreciate it. I started my career many years ago with Marriott, and just such an incredible company to really create a foundation of operations and strength. You look at who they are today, and the largest hotel company in the world, and they still do just an incredible job. Then I ventured off into other companies, and I worked for Wyndham 4 different times, and really 4 different iterations of that company. And then today I had the opportunity to come out to Hawaii and lead Outrigger. And I'm the president and CEO of Outrigger today. We've got 32 properties, primarily in Hawaii, as well as in the Asia Pacific region. Fabulous company, a lot of storied history. And I look forward to continuing to work with this company as we move into the future. So, Laura, you gave a little bit of a kind of history or a little point about you, a fun fact. I'm going to date myself in a big way here. One of my fun facts is my very first hotel I ever worked in was the Los Angeles Marriott. This hotel was over 1,000 rooms, and it was manual. We had a room rack. We used NCR 4200s. I literally had calluses on my fingers from posting local phone charges and restaurant charges every day. And during that time, we had the ability back in the late 70s to install one of the first automated computer systems into that 1,000-room hotel. So a little bit of history on the hospitality side. I love what I'm doing today. I love the technology element of what's happening and how we're evolving as an industry. And I look forward to that discussion.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us today. And I'm gonna, we had a kind of a pre-talk a few days ago for this, and it went incredibly well. We should have actually recorded that one, but we're looking forward to doing this today. So let me start off. There's a thought leader by the name of Mike Tyson, who actually has a quote, and it goes along something like this: everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And what essentially happened with us 24, 30 months ago was we all had plans. We knew what was going on, all that kind of stuff. And then, whoops, we got punched in the mouth. So Jeff, let me start with you. Outrigger had plans, obviously, but then you had, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to deal with it? All of these different instances related to COVID. And then what does the future look like?
Alan, it's a great question. When you think about what has just occurred, this was a global pandemic like none of us have ever seen before. There was no playbook. None of us knew, oh, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. And that's when a lot of people had to step up. And that's when you had to depend on your teams, and you had to depend on, what is the evolution of the things that we're going to be working on during a period of time. And if you all can take a step back all to the 24 months ago or 30 months ago, I think we thought, this is going to last a couple months and we'll be out of it. And we weren't. And it continued on and on and on. And one of the things that was a really interesting aspect that I look at was we all started talking about, okay, cleaning and contactless check-in menus, all those types of things. And one of the things I did very early on here in Hawaii is I said, okay, we ought to adopt that as well. It's going to be important to the consumer. So we started looking across Hawaii for kiosk vendors and who has kiosks here so that we can go figure out best practices and things like that. Well, what we found out was nobody had kiosks in Hawaii. It was something that nobody had gone down that path because of the resort or the leisure experience really didn't want that type of technology. But very, very quickly, we had to skip over that and go to mobile check-in. So those are the types of decisions that had to be made at that point. They had to be made quick, and you had to deal with it quickly. You had to install quickly. So it was a really interesting time. I think it took everybody to lock arms and come together as individual teams to figure out how to strategize and work through the pandemic. And I think we're on the backside of it. I sure hope we are. And I think everybody's going to come out of this a lot stronger.
Right. And Laura, the same thing to you. Like, how was the impact felt by Oracle Hospitality, and what do you see as the future today?
Yeah, I mean, from an organization perspective at Oracle Hospitality and Oracle in general, the clock never stopped. As a matter of fact, I think we've never been as busy as we were during the pandemic. I mean, it all started with connecting with our customers and trying to understand, the challenges that everybody was facing, trying to share knowledge, and really trying to help everyone make the most out of what they already had, right? At that point, it wasn't like, let's start installing new system for sure. And so there were some really good outcomes coming out of that. There were some really good guidelines and guides that were created that we were able to share with customers. We were able to share a lot of our e-learning training solutions that were necessary to maybe learn how to do new things that before were not necessary. So, and we've been busy ever since, right? So there has been a continuous interest into, okay, how does the current technology help me, or what is the new technology that is going to get me to the future? And certainly that has been more of the conversation in the past year, where now, we turned away from the past and the pain, and everyone is just looking forward towards the future and seeing how we can accelerate everything that we do and how can we meet this new demand from the consumers, because we absolutely have a different situation that we're dealing with.
Right, for sure. It's quite dynamic, and I started my career off. Now I'm gonna age myself. I started my career off about 40 years ago with a small little company in Canada at the time called Four Seasons Hotels, and I was lucky enough to be part of that. I wasn't a big part of it, but I was lucky enough to be there. And the essence of Four Seasons was about building a relationship with your guests, and I still hold that true to my heart. And I think it's incredibly important for our industry to maintain that grasp. That being said, though, there's been something that's been sneaking around the corner for the past 3 to 4 years called AI, artificial intelligence, and its impact, and how it's going to how we're going to deal with it as an industry. Because the essence to me is the relationship. How do we go ahead and fill the void with AI in order to make people feel like they're connecting? So Jeff, let me ask you, because you had some great comments on this the other day, but what's your viewpoint of AI and its introduction into hospitality?
I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to go to a conference where an economist spoke about AI. And it was very fascinating. His dad was also an economist, and he told this story about how his dad tried to create AI in essence in a manual way. So you can imagine, he said, it was 400,000 lines of, if then, and it was manual on a spreadsheet, handwritten. And that's the way our world was in the past. And you think about AI today and the way it's out there and the way it's evolving, it's significantly different. You have computers not only that are going to be able to have and store all the information and data points and decision making, they're literally going to be able to assist in making some of those decisions. So in saying all that, people get afraid. They think of AI as jobs are going to go away. A lot of people think of AI as robotics, or a robot's going to take my job. But when you think about where we're at today with computers and technology versus where we were 30 or 40 years ago, and you think about the number of jobs that are out there today, the world continues to evolve and change, and jobs, although some may change to some degree, some may go away, more get created, and there's continued opportunity for people. This is one of those things too. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and she was telling me about her kids at school, and they're in the 3rd grade, and they're taking coding and robotics in the 3rd grade. And so you think about what's going to happen even further down the road. This AI piece is going to help us all. It's going to help educate us. It's going to put us in a position to be able to make quicker decisions and better decisions with all of our businesses. So it's something that, I think we're attempting to embrace in our company in a big way. How do we continue to look at technology as an enhancer to our business, not as something that's going to take away jobs? Our industry, hospitality, is about people, and it's about service, and it's about hospitality. And so people are always going to be needed and a huge part of what we do. But AI and computer technology and what's going to evolve out of all this, I think, becomes a greater piece of what we do in our industry as we go forward.
And Laura, you talked about this the other day too. And I think you were trying to get to a point where you see AI as a bit of an enabler, right? And tell us a little bit more about that viewpoint.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I'd like to take us a little bit of a step back before we go straight into AI. And I'm going to say, certainly the pandemic has changed us so much as consumer. Yeah. We go to work in a different way, or we don't go to work or to school, or how we shop and how we socialize. And in hospitality, the new traveler is no longer motivated by price and quality. Those are still important, don't get me wrong, but there are new guest values, new priorities that have come into play when they're choosing their travel. To name a few: health and safety, ease and convenience, booking flexibility, the care, trust, the reputation of the brand that they interact with. Are they're interested? Are there sustainable products that are coming to the restaurants? So many new values and priorities have taken place. And the other interesting factor there that I believe has changed during the pandemic is that these consumers are really willing to pay extra for these options, for these new values and new priorities, and sometimes even thinking to switch a brand that provides them with better values. And this represents a huge opportunity for hospitality organizations that get this right. So I believe technology, and this is where AI comes into play, plays a key role in helping hoteliers meet all these new expectations and demands from the guests. So let's think about it. For example, when we talk about exceptional service and personal care, this is one of the reprioritized values that I think people have acquired during the pandemic. Technology absolutely can help with personalized offers and engagement, and AI can have a tremendous impact just there. Trust and reputation, assuring that the security and the privacy of their personal data is taken care of. And you wouldn't imagine that maybe AI is involved there. There is, like the way Oracle applies AI to find threats, to find security problems and resolve them in an automatic way is quite impressive. So there is tons and tons of applications there. When we're talking about ease and convenience, Jeff certainly has given us some really great points there, with kiosk or contactless solutions. there is tons of application for AI there in using intelligence and automation, both for the guests and giving them choice and letting them experience their stay the way they want, but also for the staff, right? The AI can automate so much of their steps and of their tasks, and that just allows them to give them more time and attention to the guests. So many applications I can think in any possible way where this can play a role.
Yeah, it seems like it's invading for sure. Jeff, go ahead.
Al, if I could jump in, it's
sure.
really interesting. Here's a little bit of a scenario that ties everything together what Laura just said, which I think is really interesting. So we went and deployed a new system in some of our hotels, and it's a text messaging system, and it's called Zingle. And the company, I believe, was acquired by Medallia recently, but they've got this text messaging capability with the guests. So you think about before what we did if we needed to communicate with the guest, you literally would pick up your own cell phone and you could text the guest if you had that information. Now we had the opportunity to do this in a way that was automated. So we had installed this, and during the pandemic, we're sitting around one day on a Wednesday, and we said, you know what? I wonder what happens if we use that tool to go text every guest that's checking out on Friday and offer them a really attractive rate and see if they're going to stay longer. And what happened is 60% of the people that we sent that text message to stayed at least one more day. But you take that even a step further now, that if we weren't, 5 people sitting in a room on a Wednesday dreaming this thing up and going out and doing it, and if that could have happened via automation, via what our property management system, our Opera system knows, what our CRM knows about that particular customer, what their habits are. And then that entire chain of events can be tied together. So instead of a manual text or us making the text happen because we decided on a Wednesday to go do it, versus the AI element of this actually powering it and it happening without us having to intervene, that's the power of where we can really get to in the future.
And it's amazing how people aren't reticent about something popping up on their phone and letting them know something's going on, right? They don't see it as impacting their own personal space. It's really quite dynamic. And, text messaging is now proliferated every facet of our lives, and I expect to see it continue. I really like the fact, though, that you're actually going ahead and delivering offers to entice people to do things. And normally people love that, right? It's like, oh, sure, let me check my flights. And because there were just massive amounts of cancellation, like non-cancellation clauses, that people said, sure, I can spend an extra day. That's awesome. I think it's great.
Alan, it also is creating something that we all generally know intuitively, is that working remote is real and it's probably going to stay, and that there's a lot more flexibility in where you can be to work.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of even take 3 steps further, or what does that do for technology of the future as well?
Well, that brings up the next point, which I think is incredibly important for both of you, Jeff, as you build out your company, and Oracle as you build out your platform. For many, many years, we've been talking about the cloud, right? And I was to a point where I almost thought we should be over this now. We should be realizing that every system on the planet is in the cloud. But the hotel industry has not necessarily embraced this 100%. And it's just because of location specifics and a whole bunch of other things. But I see our industry getting closer and closer to widespread adoption of cloud-based platforms. So, Laura, let me ask you about, big company, lots of hotels, migrating everybody over to the cloud platform is not an easy job, but there seems to be the enablement of people to want to do that. So is that what you're seeing as well at Oracle?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, everyone is trying to get to the cloud, and I think there are still questions in people's mind about they see the cloud here, they see their on-prem server here, and they think that it's a monumental effort and journey. And we're having some really good conversations. We're trying to explain to them the tools are there, the methodologies are there. The training is there, the aid is there, the experience is there. So there should be really no more. We've done this so many times, thousands of times. So we know how to do it well. And so just that first step, deciding that you want to take the journey, maybe the hardest one. After that is work with the experts. We have the way to get you there. But definitely we have seen an uptick into everyone wanting to go to the cloud. And I think everyone is realizing that we live in a world of continuous change, right? So if you're not in the cloud and you're not able to move fast, you're really going to be left behind at some point. So we definitely see this uptick there. With the cloud, we're trying also to explain to our customers that there are frequent releases that bring new value to hoteliers, and this is what enables new innovation, new initiatives. This is what enables better guest experiences. We just talked about how important that is. This is what enables new revenue streams and new growth. And the other key driver that I think people are attracted to the cloud is the cybercrime that's happening out there in all the industries. It's not just ours, but I know that ours is very attractive to the hackers. But certainly we have seen a drastic increase in attacks in the last 2 years, would say, and we expect this to just increase and continue. And we like to talk about ourselves in a lovingly way about Oracle, that we're obsessed with security and we're obsessed with compliance. We really are. We really go through the same sort of processes that any government application goes through, but our customers like to tell us that we let them sleep at night, and that's a really nice compliment for us. So it's really good to see that switch. From our perspective, we really think that hoteliers need a future-proof path to digital transformation. This is not a one step and done. This is a journey. So it starts with the cloud, but from there is so much more. And with Opera Cloud, we do offer such a modular hospitality platform where we provide the industry and our customers a complete suite of core hospitality solutions that are easy to use, are easy to learn, but extremely powerful and flexible to adapt to any business model in the world.
And so Jeff, you talked earlier on about these old antiquated platforms and systems that you had played around with. And I was lucky enough to live in the Bahamas for a number of years. And I was with Micros back in the day, and we were taking out System 36s, and so that in itself is interesting. So you're kind of going with the cloud, kind of putting both feet in the lake, so to speak.
Yeah, I think if you take a step back to the original question as well, there is some reluctancy to really get out there and adopt technology still. And I think that we have to, as an industry, separate ourselves from that reluctancy and really jump in with both feet, as you indicated. There's reasons for it, though. There's a cost of change, and it's not always easy to understand or figure out what is that cost, and is it offset by something in the future. There's the dilemma when you're in the hotel operations environment that I'm going to have an operating expense in the future, and today it's capital, and I can expense it today and have my margins look better in the future. So there's all those different elements that I think people wrestle with to say, should I or should I not take my property management system, for example, into the cloud? And then you've got the other excuses or things that people bring up is my internet stable? And our internet's not very stable here in this particular location, so maybe we can't do it. And then you'll have somebody else say, well, I'm on an island somewhere and there's latency issues here, and I can't have that happen. So I think there's all these different reasons that bubble up that people say the cloud may not work for me, especially if I'm in a situation where I have a system that I need to depend on immediately for something that's happening, as we speak. So what we did in our company is we have just purchased 3 hotels in Thailand. And we needed to be able to go out and put a new property management system into those 3 hotels. So with my many years at Wyndham, we picked up the phone and called Scott, the CIO over at Wyndham, because they had installed 400 versions of Cloud Opera. And he said, well, there's a bump here or there, but for the most part, it's been really good for us, and it's been healthy as a company. So I met with our team and our CIO here, and I heard all those normal things. Well, latency in Thailand, or internet's not going to be stable. I said, let's take the leap. Let's do it. We basically, I've heard this for many, many years, is if you are going to wait for technology to be perfect, you'll never install anything. Sometimes you've got to take the leap, get out there, get it installed. And while it's installed, make a few little tweaks to make it even better than what it is. So we have installed now in 2 of those 3 properties the cloud-based version of the property management system, and it's working just fine. We're not having any issues with stability or latency. We're getting ready to purchase a new property in a new location on an island, and the closing of that property is going to need to occur within about a 4-week window. So this also becomes speed to market. Is if I have to get servers in and get everything delivered to the property in a premise-based solution, it's going to take me a heck of a lot longer. Mm-hmm. If I'm in the cloud, the chance of me being able to install much quicker is significantly greater. So we have found it, even though we haven't installed it everywhere yet, we have found it to be a great solution for us. Now, with regards to this as well, and one of the pieces of counsel that I got was, don't just install 2 or 3 properties. Create a plan for the rest of your properties. It's important to migrate so you don't have kind of a hodgepodge of all your systems out there. It's important to migrate and get there at a certain point so you do have them all. So we were able to set up a really nice roadmap to migrate our entire company into the cloud of the future. So we're 32 hotels, not the largest hotel company on the planet. So it's relatively easy to create that roadmap. But I think it's going to make a huge difference for us in our growth trajectory for our company.
Yeah, for sure. And so you said something interesting, which I wasn't going to go down this road, but I'm going to go down it anyways, because you used the word speed. And speed, once again, is not necessarily directly attributed to hospitality. But I think in the background, in today's world, everything is driven by speed. And so technologically, Jeff, when you look at the infrastructure that you have in place, both on-prem, in the cloud, all this kind of stuff, do you see speed as an advantage to running a hotel business these days?
I really do. You take a quick step back again to computers, and you think about early on how one of the things that happened with the check-in process is every single front desk clerk had their head down in the computer because it was slow. It was difficult, to migrate and navigate through the systems. The technology was not good. The software was not good. And as these things have evolved, they've created speed for us as a company. When you go, or as an industry, when you go to that AI scenario that I talked about earlier, and you look at the integration of everything that can occur and what happens with speed for decision making, it becomes really enormous. So an example might be revenue management systems. So you've got Duetto and Ideas and all these different companies out there. And then you've got the ability, you've got Demand 360 out there that TravelClick had, and the ability to be able to understand demand. And then you can integrate those together to make better decisions. And then you've got Calibri Labs with Cindy Estes Green out there creating a solution that is all about understanding the net value of a reservation by segment. Right. And then you integrate that information into the systems. So all that becomes speed. All that is a decision-making process that will occur in an automated way versus each one of those lying on their own and somebody having to make manual integration decisions on what do we do and how do we do it. So I think this embracing this technology and the new technology, I think, is really a tremendous opportunity for our industry for the future.
Laura, what's your viewpoint on speed?
Yeah, I can think of a few. We started to talk initially, from the cloud, the speed of getting new features and getting new releases. I mean, when you're on premise, you're probably upgrading hopefully every year or every couple of years. And we've seen that too. So there is no speed there. And then the other things that we're still seeing with those on-prem and legacy solutions is when you're trying to connect a new and innovative vendor and a new and innovative solution, it takes forever. It's really hard and it's really costly and it's really painful. And cloud provides an opportunity to really go at speed. So you're having a system that gets new stuff and refreshed every couple of weeks. And that is phenomenal. So we bring new value all the time. And then to connect new systems, it is because we have self-service platforms that first and foremost allow these new vendors, startups, whoever, to come into our industry and provide some innovative solutions. Before, it would have been weeks and weeks and weeks, to get their solutions connected. Today, it's all self-service. Click, they're in the system, they're in the sandboxes, they're on our APIs, and a couple of days later, some have created their integrations. And then it's self-provisioning with access from the customers. Of course, it's very controlled, but that whole process has been diminished to like nothing. So it's tremendous because it allows our customers to really take advantage of the explosion of innovation that we have seen in the industry. So and the other thing, so that was one of the pain points that we tried to address, to achieve speed. The other pain point around integrations and adopting innovation was the cost. I mean, it was pretty costly to install a new system. For our customers that install Opera Cloud, when the vendors get on our integration platform, those integrations are included in the Opera Cloud subscription. So you want to add 10 or 100 solutions later, that's included in your subscription. We thought that was an important step for us to take to help customers with adopting innovation.
So you brought up APIs, probably one of the biggest acronyms out in our industry. And when we first started, when Opera first started back in the days, you had your Oxy interface, and you had OWS and all these different things. And now you have OHIP. I'm in Ontario. In Ontario, it's the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, but I'm pretty sure that won't work for you. So what is OHIP and what does it mean?
Yeah, first of all, I'm impressed about OHIP. I'm very good. That's fantastic. Think of it as this is our new generation integration platform that unifies, consolidates all our integration capabilities into this single platform. But it's not just the integration capabilities, it's also all the processes around it. What I talked about, for a vendor to come on board and integrate our platform, to deploy something new, it's all self-service and it's all automated, right? So this is what has given us the speed. But the other interesting comparison here, since you mentioned our legacy integration protocols, the Oxys, the OWSs, the Opera Cloud is a completely open system, and it provides what I call the gold mine. These are the APIs. In comparison, the old integration protocols would have given access to customers and partners only to about 400 capabilities. With Opera Cloud, we have over 3,000. Like, there is no limit to what people can dream and do. And it's actually quite extraordinary to see the solutions that are evolving on our platform. It's great. And the other thing I'll mention, because I think this is what I'm also super excited about, is not just the technology, but it's also the engagement model. We created a community with these partners and with these customers, and there is so much co-innovation, and there is so much sharing of knowledge and data and experience. And we have seen some really great things coming out of that. And that has given us a lot of feedback on how to make things better for our customers.
Yeah, 100%. So once again, going back to the essence of hospitality services is at the bedrock. So Jeff, and this is a super softball question, but I truly believe it's important for every technology vendor above and beyond Oracle to really understand how important is service and the management of the applications, et cetera, to the hotel operators and to the executive management.
Clearly a softball, Alan. So
I
thank you.
know, but it's one of those things for me has always been like how service business, that's got to be your primary concern. But what's your viewpoint?
Yeah, when you think about growing up in the industry, I worked in 14 different hotels over my career, and it's really all about that service element. And technology actually can enhance service. It can provide some of the tools to be able to allow each individual and each property or a brand to be better because of technology. And so it's a little bit of what I said earlier, is that some people are slow to adopt. They think it's going to interfere, or there's fear of what's going to happen. But for the most part, when you look back over the evolution of the introduction of new technology into our industry, virtually every time to some degree it has enhanced the service environment. You think about, I'm going to pull another one here, hot sauce, right? So you've got out there hot sauce, which connects into the property management system today. And you've got an engineer, or you've got somebody who calls down and says, I've got an issue in my guest room. You can now put it into technology, and that technology goes to the maintenance team, and then they have the ability to go deal with it. They have the ability to put information back into it, have it go back to the front desk, and then call back and say, hopefully everything's okay. That's been around for a long time now, but that's the kind of thing that enhances service to some degree versus an entire manual process. So I think it's really important. There's always going to be a need to have great people in our hospitality industry. It's the cornerstone of who we are. And quite frankly, we've all seen in the news today what's happening and how we're having difficulty across the industry in finding people for our hotels and our resorts. And so it's even going to be more important that we're doing the right thing for our employees, that we're really embracing them and taking care of them, and not leaning so much on technology that we think we can do without what's probably the most important aspect of our business, which is our people.
Yeah, completely agree. And so, obviously one of the big trends is the fact that some of the employees, it's hard to find them, or they're leaving the business, or they're, et cetera. And that is a detrimental trend to our industry, but I think it's one that we can overcome. When we look at trends, are there things that you see, Jeff, high level trends that are impacting your business, whether it's travel trends, whether it's just generic trends? What are you seeing out there?
One of the things that's really interesting about the resort or the leisure experience is people are really looking for an experience. They're looking for things that are authentic now. So I do believe that travel trends are changing to some degree. You look at mobile check-in. If you're a business customer and you're traveling in a major urban market, mobile check-in with the ability to even have your key on your phone could be very important. If you're arriving late at night, it's extremely important. To be able to communicate what's happening with your trip to whatever property you're going to is important. So I think you're going to see the trends are going to continue to evolve towards the need and the use of technology in our business to be able to enhance the experience. When you look at, Lee Pillsbury is such an iconic leader in our industry. He's been around with Thayer and what they've done at their company, but now at Thayer Ventures, they are all about technology, and all they invest in is like startup technology to come on the scene. And that's important for our industry, that we have people out there like Lee that are looking for new opportunities to drive technology. And I can assure you, with the experience that Lee has over time, it's important to him that it doesn't take away from the spirit of hospitality and what we do, that it actually helps enhance hospitality in the future of our trends.
Right. And Laura, Oracle put out a great, big, huge report a little while ago about trends. One of the things that were interesting is where hoteliers are going to be spending their money. So what do you see from the technology trends and what matters to hoteliers?
Yeah, I think I'll link to what Jeff talked about because we definitely see that's where a lot of the spend and that's where a lot of the investment is taking place in both offering guest choices or around around being able to check in and check out the contactless solutions, but also hoteliers are looking for ways to automate all the tasks that their staff have to do. And so our prediction here and the trend that we see is that technology will become more and more humanized. And it could be both from the guest perspective and it could be both from the employee perspective. So if we are talking about chatbots or guest-facing applications, we have seen, and also, being inside Oracle and seeing some of the trends from the other industries and what's happening, it's quite interesting how clever some of these technologies can become to really become human-like technology. And it can truly help, to respond faster to guest inquiries, to really help the guest on the journey if they so choose to go that route. And that provides a clear advantage also to the staff, who now don't have to deal with every single inquiry, and that gives them more time. It makes their job easier and it makes more out of their time to really look after the guests and provide a better guest experience. So there is a lot that we see there. And then the other aspect of humanizing technology that we see is also on the employee or staff applications, where at Oracle, we like to think about one of the key missions that we have is to really take care of the employee experience. We like to put ourselves in the shoes of the front desk manager or the housekeeper or whoever it is, and we want to make their life easy and more enjoyable. We want them to enjoy the technology that we provide so that they're more attracted to the industry, quite honestly. So one of the cool and new things that we have implemented is a digital assistant that comes with Opera Cloud. So it's good for housekeepers. You can do status changes of the room. You can do check-ins, you can do checkouts, but it all can be done either by texting in your own language or even by speaking into it. And I think, things like this is where we really make not just the guest life easier, but also the staff life easier. And humanizing technology is a trend that we see.
Perfect. I firmly believe that the companies need to focus on employee retention and employee support. More than the directive angle of what they have to do, it's more about the community angle of the community aspect of that employee. So, anyways, my take. So we're coming to the end of our time together. So, Jeff, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of what Laura was just talking about with chat and use that in the example within some final thoughts here. You think about chat and how does that work? And in the hospitality environment, does someone think, well, that's going to take away from the human aspect of who we are if someone's chatting, into the computer? But it also is one of those things that I think you can't be afraid of within technology. There's so many incredible uses of chat today. You think about who is chatting today and what it's going to look like 15 or 20 years from now when today's youth grows up and is traveling out there. It's probably going to be one of the largest methods of communication. So to be able to not only adopt it, but to understand that chat won't always be chat with someone on the other side, that there's going to also be chat with AI powering that chat in order to be able to very quickly give you the response that you're going to want. So I think my message, my closing message would be, don't be afraid. Jump in. Technology is important to our industry. Help create, help support the technology companies that are out there today. We're all going to be better for it in the future.
Laura, your closing comments.
All right. I want to introduce a thought on loyalty, just because we're talking about, a shifting guest behaviors here. And our point here is that loyalty as we know it is out in hospitality, and that hoteliers must reimagine their entire business through the lens of experiences. And we think it starts with a continuous investment in understanding the guests and engaging them. It's becoming very important it's really important that organizations are really listening to their customers through the data that is coming through all these digital touch points. We have so many digital touch points that we have to take care of. Even more important is the need to reward and not just the stay, but also the guest engagement and the brand references that they're making on social media. When someone shares a great experience with their broad network of friends who will potentially book a future stay at the hotel, that behavior really needs to be rewarded. So going a step further, and after being locked in their houses for so long, guests are really looking for new experiences. And this is an enormous opportunity for hoteliers to acquire new customers. People are more into health and well-being than ever, into relationships, into sustainability. They're looking for brands to provide experiences that are more in tune with their new values, but also brands with good business practices that not just promise a good experience, but are also able to execute on that promise. And here is where technology comes into play, because in all this to become a reality, technology is key to help organizations connect all the relevant data and deliver it in real time to all the departments. And this is not going to be possible with a traditional divide as we know it between a PMS, a CRS, a CRM, or another solution. These old silos are really a thing of the past, and we believe in the rise of hospitality platforms across operations, sales and marketing, financials, with a single view of the guest. And that's exactly what we're doing at Oracle Hospitality with Opera Cloud. We have a modular platform for hotel operations, distribution, sales and events management, and later this year, even announcing a loyalty solution. And when also linked with the Oracle ERP, this platform enables quick and easy action across all departments. It takes down organizational walls, and it really brings that front office and back office closer together. And this is the only way to build consistency, which is critical to creating trust and loyalty and new revenue streams too.
Cool. Thank you. And let me thank everybody that's watching. I appreciate you taking the time. Jeff Wagoner from Outrigger Hotels, thank you very, very much. Laura Calin from Oracle Hospitality. It's been great to speak with you both. It's been a wonderful time.
Great. Thanks for having us.
All right. Take care.
Take care.